parents were over and everything. Then all of a sudden, like, oh, look at that storm over there coming in. I go, guess what she's done? Next thing you know, they disappeared, and then here comes the. Yeah, but we could not find in our backyard where we fixed it, and we know it wasn't on the inside.
The discussion. So we just
On the budget?
How are you? Good. This is my wife, Katie. So he's helping put together everything. No way.
Cats are really bad. Do you have cats?
No.
My neighbor has cats too.
I know, we think the raccoons get them. We've had kittens that people just drop off.
Live on there.
Yeah, and we think that, I think it was over by Ken Tomlin, when they started here. He started feeding one and they went out of bed.
Nice guy. So then the first one was like a 14.7. But then she figures that our changes are in areas of space time. What?
Not worry, your house is a lot closer than St. George.
The problem is I've been using it since.
Yeah? I just
No.
want the case. I'll throw all the contents out.
No, cute case for sure. I said, I'm like, is this Lincoln's or his wife's? And he's like, no, this is Lincoln. I said, all right. No, I'm just kidding. It's totally it, man. It's manly. I liked it.
Toiletry case.
No mayor yet.
She's here. She was on time. She does something home. She sent me a content. I said, just come to me. Kids have a good time? Wife have a good time?
We stayed an extra day, did a few hikes.
And I had friends that were
It's on right now? It's being charged right now. So we're starting, you're in zone 2. Zone 1 is already charged.
hamburgers and stuff. He's my teacher in Jeanville. Yeah, so that's why. I don't know if she had a little girl.
How's it going? Kaden. Rob, East grandson. And this
Can I
is.
ask you a favor?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to say the pledge and lead us in the pledge?
Yeah.
Are you going to tell us?
Yep. Rob's grandson. And this is my wife, Katie. You as well.
Okay, now give him on the pledge.
Does everyone just do it from right here?
Kaden with a C or a K?
You made amazing time.
Travel a little faster than I usually do.
Break any speed laws.
Almost needed a escort. All right, Adam, are we recording? Is our recording on? Good to go?
Ready to go.
Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Carolyn Lundberg here, Mayor of Lindon City, and grateful for our council that are all here this evening. We're going to be holding this council meeting here starting at 5:15 p.m. on Monday, April 21st, 2025. We welcome all that are here in the chambers with us today, as well as those watching online. And as usual, we always begin our meetings with an invocation, which will be offered by Councilmember Van Broderick, and that will be followed by a Pledge of Allegiance led by a community member, Caden Callis. We'll go to that point.
Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the many blessings that Thou hast given us. Grateful for this beautiful time of year and for this wonderful city that we live in. We are grateful for the freedoms that we enjoy in our country. We're grateful for the good people that live here in Lindon. And we'd ask you that would bless them and be with them, keep them safe, and help them to be successful in their endeavors. We're grateful for the opportunity that we have to meet tonight in City Council meeting. We'd invite Thy Spirit to be with us, that we can make sure that we thoroughly understand the items, take all appropriate input, and make good and sound decisions. We are grateful for our first responders as well in our community and ask you that Thou would please bless them and keep them safe. And grateful for the service that they provide to us as well as all of our Lindon City employees. And we say this prayer in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Would the audience please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, we will now have our roll call, and I'll start here on my right.
Steve Stewart, present.
Jake Hoyt, present.
Carolyn Lundberg, present.
Lincoln Jacobs, present.
Cole Cooley, present.
Van Broderick, present.
All right. Thank you all. That will now take us on to item number 2 on the agenda. And if you're interested in following along, we have these on a table there at the door entry. We always begin, and tonight we have some really special opportunities to recognize some good folks here in the community. First of all, we have a couple individuals who were really significant in our serving on our historic commission. As you all may be aware, we had a full revamp of the museum room or the historic room in our community center. A big group that worked really hard. Last year was our centennial. There were all sorts of just really amazing, fantastic events. And now they're working on digitizing and getting things, secured for history. And so these two individuals, the reason the meeting was late is I know that they have not wanted to have public recognition, and they've had their arm twisted to come here today, but we're going to recognize them because they really deserve it. They had some incredible, generous donations as well as time that really are going to be some amazing key things for many people to enjoy for many years to come. So I'd like to invite Jill and Mike Jorgensen to come up, and this is the brick that was in my home office. So.
Thrown through the window?
So I have to tell you a little bit about this brick is significant. It comes from the Cullimore store, historic store, one of those bricks. Unfortunately, that edifice was not saved intact in itself, but we have some bricks. And our city administrator, Adam Cowie, was really brilliant having the idea, let's get some of these, and then you guys will have a piece of the Cullimore history here. So we just want to present this to you. Thank you again. They're looking good tonight. We're going to take a picture.
I'll take it.
Come on, council. One more arm twist. We'll do this.
We could put that in the case in the museum. We'll just turn it around.
Where are you going with that?
Stand up, Cole.
trying. I'm doing the best I can.
There we go. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
We sure had a lot of fun at using their barn as well for the Sweetheart Dance. And I have a little video. That place was hopping. We had hundreds of people come out. Did you see? It was pretty amazing.
Is that what it was, Michael? Not the prom, maybe. The Sweetheart Dance. He said there was a prom. I said, boy, that'd be a mess.
For Valentine's, thank you all. All right. Now we'll move on to our next presentation tonight. We are really grateful to have a few teachers here. I know it's a busy night. I just came over from the art night over at Lindon Elementary. So many music teacher. Wow, she was just leading kids in songs over there. Anyway, we just have some presentations we'd like to do tonight. Each year, Lindon City and this council allots an amount in the budget for teachers, local teachers, to apply for mini grants. And the teachers do really amazing, fantastic things with these grants. I'm going to let Councilmember Steve Stewart explain some of the applications we had this year. And then we'd like to invite teachers that are able to come share with us what they've done with this mini grant funding for the children in our community. So I'll let you take it away,
Thank
Steve.
you. Yeah, it was my pleasure and opportunity to oversee the grant program and to review all of the applications. Having been in education for 35 years and finishing here as a principal of Pleasant Grove High School, I know what teachers have to go through sometimes, even for just a little bit of money. It's not like we were able to give a ton, but we know that whatever we're able to give them, they use to their advantage. What am I seeing here? Oh, there we go. I wanted to see if I was seeing the same thing. So we had a number of teachers apply, and they were able to do quite a number of things, and these are all included in the minutes, so you'll be able to go online and see this as well. And we've invited a few teachers to come here to personally share with us, the board or the council and others, what they've done with that, and then of course we have all the others here. So, Kristen, why don't you kick us off? Right in here.
My name is Kristen Cottrell, and I teach first grade at Aspen Elementary, just down the road a little bit.
My wife was a team leader with her, or a team member with her for 10 years.
I love your wife.
She loves you.
This year, well, I feel like every year, we are given some money through the school, but it's usually allotted to different things like a literacy fund or math supplies. Every year there are different needs in my classroom that I just feel like I need a little more, a little extra. This year I have just such a diverse class. I have several that don't speak much English, and I have one who is being evaluated to move to the behavioral unit. So severe behaviors, and a lot of meetings with teams at school deciding that we needed to have some external reward systems set up for these kids to help motivate them in whatever it was, getting to school, learning English, not giving up when things got hard, controlling behaviors, any kind of little incentive. And I mean little, like things like a bouncy ball. So we were trying to get away from food and just give some small rewards. And so I applied for a Lindon grant to get some rewards that I could use in my classroom. And I was given that, $100, and it has been so great just to have those things. I don't have to last minute go and buy stuff. I've got plenty. It's lasted through half the year, almost the whole year, because the grant was early, but it's just been so great. And then I've been double using the supplies too, because the district offered some math training in number sense for teachers this year. And one of the things that they do is called counting collections, which is just collections of items which kids can count into different groups, not sorting, but counting. And so I was able to pull those out, and they were able to use them for the counting collections. And I collected them, and I can use them for what they were intended for. But it was nice to have double duty. I had the items, and I could use them for both things. My students are still struggling a little, but they're definitely making progress, and I feel like it was just beneficial to have them have an immediate reward. Sometimes the rewards, especially when you're 6 and 7, to have to wait is very hard. So having something that was immediate and I could tie it to a specific behavior or specific action on their part was really beneficial. So thank you very, very much. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
sharing that.
And thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
I'm Kirsten Bybee. And I'm Sarah Allen. And we teach 4th grade at Lindon Elementary. And we do a lot of different days in 4th grade because we celebrate the state of Utah. And one of those days we do is we do a Native American powwow in the fall in November. And then we're just getting ready to do our big Pioneer Day, which many of you probably see because we use the trail and different stuff. So with our Native American powwow,
We have a teacher that lived on the Navajo reservation, and she said that one of the things that they eat a lot of is Navajo fry bread. And so every year we have donations where people make the fry bread for us, but it's always a pain to get donations and the frying pans. And so we applied to get frying pans to be able to do that, and we were able to get them.
We're super excited about that. And then with the rest of our money, we're going to be using it for our Pioneer Day. We do solar ovens, what were all the things with graham crackers and s'mores. We do butter in the jar. We do different things with yarns, make yarn dolls and yarn bracelets. And there was something else. I don't know, there's a lot of different stuff. So we're so appreciative. Okay, we do ice cream in a bag too, and fudge in a bag. So we're grateful for the funds to help us.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. We know you take what we give and you make it
Yeah,
blossom.
Teachers can make
Yeah.
something out of nothing. So
Sometimes. I appreciate it. Thank you.
very grateful. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Council, thank you for appropriating this funding each year. It's really fun to see, we know there are at least 20 grants that we distributed this past year, so little goes a long way. All right, that ends our presentation and announcements portion of the agenda this evening. So next is item number 3. This is our open session for public comment. This is the time that we invite anyone to come forward if they would like to address the council on a matter that is not listed on tonight's agenda. All right, seeing none, we will move on. This is to our item number 4, our council reports. So I'll just go ahead and start here to my left.
All right, thank you. Appropriately, with the mini grants, I was able to go over to Lindon Elementary tonight and to see the displays. And 3 or 4 adults grabbed me to say thank you and appreciate what the council does to make some of those things available. Fun to get those reports there from those teachers as well. As you can guess, I might talk about secondary water. We have been using the Provo River Aqueduct turnout, the Tucker PRA turnout. Thank you for doing that sign. I don't know if you're aware, so as you know, we take water, we have the ability now to come out of the Provo River Aqueduct directly, and it was John Tucker's, our water master's idea. And it's an incredible idea, and so there's a little sign that the city has put up there. But that has been, we've been taking 3 CFS of water out of that to be filling our ponds. How many days has that been going? 3 days?
We started it last Wednesday. We went Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and turned it off Saturday morning. We filled up the whole pond in 3 days at that 3 CFS rate, 15 feet of water, about 12 million gallons.
So pretty cool. And there was 0 leaks, 0 evaporation, no risk. This is such a blessing for our community. The systems are being charged over the next few days. Hopefully by the end of the week, everybody will have access to secondary water. And if you haven't noticed, on Center Street, the planter boxes now are being formed with they're just concrete right now, so you have to use your imagination just a little bit. But those are looking good. It'll be fun to get those finished. So, and again, thank you to Juan and the Public Works for everything that they're doing. So, and the crew, and the Public Works, and and everybody will probably mention it, but the Utah League of Cities and Towns in St. George, a great conference. You just learn stuff, and everybody went on the council and mayor and administrator, so good couple of days in St. George. And we brought rain.
Their drought.
Was us? We did that?
I think so.
For the communities that care, their website is the best place to go if you want to register for any of their programming. They've got programs for families and youth, and they've been fully subscribed and very popular, and so a great offering, and they continue to expand their reach in order to make an impact in our community.
It really is a fabulous page. There's probably 50 resources there on everything you could think of, from mental health to meeting physical needs, food pantries.
Yeah, they've gone through and culled together a list of community resources as a shortcut for people.
I have a landing page.
So they can find a variety of resources. So they've been working really hard, and it's been great. The school district, we will be meeting again soon for the interlocal. Right now, we've also received the sort of finalized, certified, if that's the right word, a map that we had submitted. It still needs some updating from what we learned, and so the school board and others will have to start tackling that. The board seats we already talked about, those have been released, and folks can file up through June with the county to run, and there have been a number of interested people in Lindon, so if everyone continues as they've indicated, we'll have a primary for a school board seat here in Lindon at least. And we're looking now at any other preparatory work that we need to do in order to ensure that the school board has everything they need to be efficient and effective when they take office. The Historical Commission, doing well, continuing their plans with the various projects, and the tree board met recently to make their planting plans with the different trees in this upcoming season. And the Arbor Day celebration is this Friday at the community center at 5:30. So if you are around, it's a great event. There's a lot of activities and giveaways, food. It's been a well-attended, fun event over the years. So that's this Friday, community center at 5:30.
Thank you very much.
Boy, this is almost embarrassing. ULCT conference was great. It was wonderful. We learned a lot. And yes, I left my toiletries back there. And so
Right as you're giving your report.
Jake picked it up for me, brought it back, and his children are delivering that. I'm feeling a little red in the face here. It really was. It was good to talk with other city leaders and to understand common challenges that we all face, as well as recognizing how truly fortunate, blessed we are in Lindon. Time and time again, I was grateful for our balanced community, for the revenue that we get from our sales tax, to be able to have a full-time city attorney that can be to all of our meetings and help make sure that we're doing the right things the right way and staying in accordance with state, federal laws. That's awesome to have Adam here at the helm, and really all of our great leaders. It was something that I felt and appreciated while I was down there. And then as far as bringing the rain, I think maybe we did, because we had the pickleball tournament and that got rained out, which I think that's what brought the rain. But it's worth noting that Lindon had 2 undefeated teams on the rec and the competitive arena there. So kudos to Lindon. Our Heritage Trail needed some work, and it's gotten a little bit more complicated than I think originally understood. It's still ongoing. Our Public Works, our engineers, Heath has been up there. It's still going. They did put a drain at a low spot, which resulted in flooding out a neighbor's house when we had that big rainstorm. So the repairs are going to be fantastic. It is ongoing. It is a bit of a project. In our Planning Commission, we had a discussion. We're going to have that later on in our own council here as well. So that about covers it for me.
Thank you very much. Jake, it's on to you.
Not a lot more to add. Really loved ULCT this year. I thought that was great. The Chamber of Commerce Golf Tournament is May 23rd, and I know the city usually houses a couple of teams and competes against Pleasant Grove staff, so looking forward to that, and that's all I have.
That's our ace right there. All right. You guys. All right. Steve, go ahead.
I also enjoyed the ULCT conference. I remember last year went with only 3 months experience. It was a whole different experience this time, kind of being in the seat for a little bit. But we are in the process of selecting our new youth council. We had 17 applications, and we'll be interviewing them this Friday and next Monday. We're very excited to meet the new young people that are excited to serve on that youth council. We had our wrap-up with our current council last Monday, and enjoyed that time together with them. So looking forward to Memorial Day, and hope you'll all make sure to come to the Memorial Day program, where they'll be on full display.
That'll be the new council that will be there? Both.
Yeah, it's kind of a...
The handoff.
Yeah.
We get them both.
The baton passes.
Yes. Very good. Yes, speaking of our training and the information we were able to glean down at the league, one thing that was very sobering to me was that some cities in our city caucus meetings were expressing a lot of challenge right now, that they are facing deficits, that they don't have adequate revenue. And so how blessed we are here in Lindon. Lindon is able to provide very, very high levels of service for the size city we are. It's really quite incredible. And yet, as fiduciaries, you all do a fantastic job of really watching the residents' tax dollars wisely, so that we are still in a very healthy position. And we have a lot of tremendous economic development. You know, we have great staff like Mike Florence, great team tagger on, you know, going after great sales tax opportunities, and so grateful for that we can be in that position. I was also had the honor to attend the Huntsman Cancer Institute groundbreaking there in Vineyard City, and that, if any of you are not aware, there will be a full board cancer facility here in Utah County. It's pretty incredible. They're finishing raising the last tranche of funding for it, but it's going to change lives. Right now, folks who, you know, we all know family and friends and neighbors who've undergone cancer and having to drive multiple times during the week to get those services up there. It'll be amazing to have it here locally, and it will also serve so many shoulder rural communities here off the county. So that's a really exciting thing coming. Today I just went with our city attorney, Brian Hawes, a couple hours ago out to Timpanogos Special Services District. They are the sewer treatment plant for a lot of our neighboring sister cities, but it's, you know, just stone's throw across the way from a lot of our big businesses, and so there's been some challenges with odor, and we, you know, continue to, myself and staff continue to meet with the director frequently, and just to keep the pressure on so that we can make sure things are progressing. They have a plan to take care of a lot of the odor issues out there. So it's looking good. It's not going to be, there's certain things they're mitigating right away because they really need to, and then there's other things that will be a little longer game plan. But Brian and I were pretty impressed. There's a gigantic pit. They're going to build a whole new headworks facility, as well as an anaerobic microbial gigantic, 90 to 120 foot deep. How many millions of gallons can it hold?
I don't know, but it was gonna cut their solids by 50%. The solids that they're producing will be
Yeah.
cut by 50%, and that is a major source of the odor out there.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff. It's gonna take a little bit of time to get there, but good stuff's happening.
Definitely. As you may or may not know, our waste, what we send, down the sink or the toilet, goes to the Orem facility, and they've done huge upgrades there, and we have to, in the near future, start paying and contributing towards those upgrades. So one thing that this council is really good about is we try to keep raising of fees as minimal and close to actual cost as possible, but we do have to face, sometimes there's outside bills that we have to start paying for. So that is one that's coming. Anyway, in any event, I think everyone can get behind that, just keeping our infrastructure really strong and stable and serving what we need. So moving on, we'll now go to our administrator's report. This is item number 5 on our agenda.
The only thing I have, I gave you each hard copies of this travel reimbursement form. I also emailed you a fillable PDF if that's easier, because this one, when you print it, it lists zeros in the total column, so it might be easier to do the one online, but either way is fine. You can just scratch out those zeros. And you're eligible, and we've budgeted for the fuel down and back on the mileage if you want to fill that in, any meals that were not provided by the conference, and then the hotel. I think I registered everybody, so that's probably covered. So any questions on
I
that?
stayed with family to save.
Oh, that's
hotel,
great. So
okay. All right.
that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you so much. All right, so here we go. We're going to move now forward to our approval of the minutes. This is item number 6 on the agenda. So council, if you've had a moment to review our meeting minutes from April 7th and April 14th, are there any comments or requests for change on there?
I have no changes.
All right, I'd entertain a motion if we're ready to go forward.
I make a motion to approve the city council minutes of April 7th, 2025, and April 14th, 2025.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Jacobs. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous. All right, moving on to our consent agenda item. There's nothing there this evening, so we will jump ahead to item number 8. And this will be a public hearing to discuss a request that it's already come through our Planning Commission in regards to updating our ordinances in regards to flag lots. So I'll turn the time over to our Community Development Director, Mr. Michael Florence, to present.
Can I make a motion to open a public hearing?
Sure, we could open it now. Sometimes we can do it after the presentation, but now it's just as fine. So I'll take a first and a second.
Second.
First from Hoyt, second from Broderick. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are in a public hearing. Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Callis has made an application to amend our city flag lot ordinance, which is 17.32.290. And the purpose of the amendment is to allow 2 flag lots to have access off of a shared driveway, or it's called the flag pole portion of the flag lot. And then the city is also proposing some changes to the ordinance as well regarding fire regulations and driveway widths, qualifying language, other specifications, and I'll go through a few of those now. So since 2021, we've approved 5 flag lots. Those are typically just approved by the Planning Commission as part of a preliminary approval or minor subdivision. We have maybe a dozen or so flag lots throughout the community. So, they're a good infill option. I provided a table in your staff report that shows which cities along the Wasatch Front allow flag lots, and then which ones allow a flag lot to share a driveway with adjoining flag lots. So there's about 12 cities that allow flag lots, and about half of those, allow 2 lots to share that driveway. Couple things in the ordinance, just to go through. So I came up with this illustration. It's very simplistic, but this is an example of something you may see, and we'll go to Mr. Callis's proposal here in a minute so you can see it. But so if you had two lots, lot 1 and 2, if they were along the public street, a flag lot in this situation, under the current ordinance, you're required to have 25 feet of frontage that's shown here. And then you'd have your flagpole or your shared driveway back to the flag lot. In this situation, you would still have a 25-foot frontage, and then you would have a shared access easement and a public utility easement that would be provided to lot 4, so they could share that driveway. They have a little bit larger setbacks, side yard setbacks. On a flag lot, you're required to have a 15-foot side yard setback instead of a 10-foot. You're still required to have a 20,000 square foot lot portion, or the flag portion of the lot. So you're not going to see many of these in the R112 zone because you have to have a 20,000 square foot lot in the back. So you're going to mainly see those, west of the Murdoch Canal. Even at that, one thing when we talk to a lot of people, what disqualifies them the most is residents may have the frontage, so they may have 125 feet of frontage, but they don't have this 35 feet here. They don't have the 10-foot side yard setback, and they don't have the enough room for the 25-foot lane. And so that disqualifies quite a few property owners from being able to do a flag lot. A couple other things in the ordinance that we've updated is that the fire code requires a minimum 20 feet of hard surface. That could be asphalt, concrete, or another material that will hold a 75,000-pound fire truck, going back to that flag portion of the lot.
So it cannot be gravel, or could it be gravel?
It possibly could be. I don't know for sure. The fire code just says a surface capable of sustaining a 75,000-pound vehicle. So I don't know what the fire marshal has approved in the past, but mostly what you'll see is asphalt or concrete. So let's see. So our current ordinance requires 16 feet of hard surface, so we're increasing that to 20 to meet the fire code. A couple other things. A couple other things that we've left in the ordinance. You can't do an R2 overlay project on a flag lot. This is in red, but it's just a section that's been moved, and so someone couldn't do a twin home or a triplex on a flag lot. That still remains. It would allow two flag lots per development. The proposed subdivision will create a maximum of 2 new residential building flag lots from the original lots or parcels, and so this would allow them to be adjoining. It would allow, if a new development came in, they could have 2, but it would be a maximum of 2 per development.
So just to clarify, for those that might be listening in for the record, so you have your primary dwelling that fronts the public street.
Yes.
And this would be allowing up to 2 behind the home that is along the public street.
That is correct.
Okay.
And so in this particular case, it's lot 3 and lot 4.
Yes.
That 15-foot setback, does that apply to lot 4 as well? Or can they literally build right, so they'd be back from that edge?
It'd be similar to this one, 30-foot front yard, which is what the flag lot ordinance says is this line here. The front lot line is the one that's parallel to the street. So this would need to be a 30-foot front setback, 15-foot side yard setbacks, and then you have your 30-foot rear yard setback. One other thing, there was some conflicting language in our code. One section said that you could go up to a 35-foot accessory structure for a accessory structure in the rear yard. Another section said you could only go up to 25 feet. So the Planning Commission, their recommendation was to follow what our current city code is, says that you can go up to 35 feet. That's in the buildable area, meaning you have a 30-foot rear yard setback. If you're within that, if you're outside that buildable area, so say you're only 5 feet from the property line, then it would be a 20-foot maximum height. That follows what our current R112 and R120 regulations are. So their recommendation is be consistent with the rest of the community. So, couple other things on we make lots of references to the fire code. I think there's 3 or 4 different references. So instead of just repeating the fire code in here, we make a reference to that. Let's see. And then also the ordinance had some different sections that allowed discretion. So, it said the Planning Commission and City Council could allow more than one flag lot if it was in the best interest of the city. Well, we've taken that discretion out because the state legislature has asked us to just use the plain language of ordinances. And so that's why we came up with just the 2 flag lots. That way there's not this discretion giving someone one thing, someone else not giving someone something else. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions, and Mr. Callis is here and can also explain what he wants to do, and we've got kind of a rough site plan of his proposal as well.
We'd like to invite you to come forward, Rob. Thank you.
Thank you, Council, for allowing me to come and talk to you about this, and let me just thank you for the work and service you do. We have such a wonderful city and such a wonderful council, and I can see, we all know the interest and love you have for the community, so it's a pleasure to be here tonight. This action was precipitated out of a desire, and, well, Michael has put this up. You can see my property is not the rectangular property that was shown in the other piece. It's quite different. Cole knows about it, yes. But maybe, I don't have a pointer, Michael, but if you could just show the parcel that I'm referring to.
This area. Do you want me to pull up on the county parcel map?
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Is it going to work tonight?
I hope so. Yeah, for some reason it did not work during Planning Commission, so.
I have a piece of landlocked property that is about a half an acre. It's actually a little larger. You can see it's that triangular or that piece right there that's between the Taylors, and the Taylors are here tonight, and the Framptons and the Framptons. So I have 2 Frampton neighbors and I have a Taylor neighbor. And I have, this was brought out by a family member who desires to become a resident of Lindon City. And so he's looking to possibly build a home and become a resident of our fine community. But I don't have access to that parcel. And as I've looked about it, I've talked with neighbors and things, and the Taylors have been so helpful. We talked to them. They have a parcel that they could divide and have a flag lot on theirs. With this new ordinance, we could share a flag lot, and then both of us could develop our properties. It really lays out quite well. It doesn't, in Michael's example of the square rectangle with the house behind a house, it doesn't do that. It actually opens it up and makes it much more open space. So there would end up being the Taylor's home, and then the Taylor's flag lot, and then my flag lot. And we would share that access road. So it really opens it up. It's not really shoehorned in there like some of those might appear in other situations. But this would allow for us to develop and build a home on both the Taylor's property if they desire at some point in time, and on my property if we can proceed with that. We're excited about doing it. We think there's several advantages. That was a precipitous to getting the ordinance changed, but it was not the only reason. Over the years, I've been on the Planning Commission for many years, and we've talked about changing this flag lot ordinance and seeing if we can't help homeowners develop some of the landlocked properties that they have, mainly in the, below the canal and this side of the freeway. There's not a lot, but there are some pieces that are landlocked, and this would allow the homeowners to be, or the owners of those parcels to use them. We think that's an advantage. We think it reduces the city's obligation for maintenance by sharing that road. The maintenance of that road would be between the Taylors and Callises, not the city. We would put in the surface, we would put in the utilities, and we would maintain those. So that's an advantage to the city. I think it allows for the infill of some of these properties that have been divided up in an odd way, and it doesn't diminish, we think, from the beauty and the openness of our city and community. It provides, another thing I think it provides is housing opportunities for people who cannot get housing opportunities. There's a lot of people that want to move to Lindon, but there just is not very many lots available, and they are very expensive. And this would allow for some young couples like my grandson and his wife to build upon a piece and become residents of our city. As you know, the legislature is always pushing us to try to show them what we've done to help make housing more affordable, and we think this, again, as Michael has said, it won't be that many, but I think it's one feather in our cap that we can show them that we've done some things to accommodate some of this building that they are trying to encourage us to do. There's one question, if I may, Michael, that I would like to propose on the ordinance. I kind of, as I've been reading it the last couple of days, I noticed one thing that I had a question on, and I wasn't sure, and it was on, if you could go to it, it's on section 8. And that's the setback area. And I guess my question is, something for the council to consider is, I'm not sure why the setback has to be greater on the flag lot than a regular lot that would be on the street. And maybe you can remind me, but is there any reason why the setback couldn't be the same? And if you wanted to go to that example you had in your plan, would it matter if the side yard was 10, just like on the lot in front, rather than 15? That's a question I have.
I had the same thought as I was reviewing the package. What was the thought process there?
So I didn't touch that setbacks. That's just how it's been historically. I don't know the reason behind that.
Yeah, I'd like to recommend it be reconsidered.
Years ago, when we first drafted this, the city council and planning commission at the time, from what I remember, Rob, they felt like having a home in the backyard was a little more intrusive to maybe some of the other neighbors, and so they wanted a greater setback.
I see.
That's all that I recall.
Okay. Well, that's just something I'd like to see if you would consider. But I appreciate being here tonight. We think it'll be a good opportunity for us and the city.
It's mainly just the side setback. You're not
Yeah,
questioning
no,
front and
30,
rear.
I don't have a problem with 30 front and back. It's just that you can see from the diagram it's 10 and 10, and then 15 and 15 on the back.
The 30 setback on lot 2 for a traditional 20,000 square foot lot, it's not a full 30 on the backyard, is it? It's always been a full 30. Okay.
Now there is some encroachments or projections that the ordinance allows. You know, it allows so many feet for a deck or, you know, or stairs or something like that. But yes, it's always been 30.
the primary dwelling, but you can build outbuildings
Yes.
within that
Okay.
non-livable space.
I guess my only other question, first, Rob, I love this idea, and I love with your expertise coming forward and bringing it forward. Lot 1, an applicant could apply without ownership of Lot 1 and Lot 2, correct? They don't need to own both lots in order to apply for this.
Right. Yeah, so if they just owned Lot 2 and they had enough space, yes.
Lot 1 really, it has to have the 100-foot frontage,
20,000 square feet.
and it's got to have 20,000 square feet, but other than that, it's not factored into the application.
I'm not sure
It's
I
just a
understand that. Just
qualifier.
What do you mean by
Is
that?
Lot 1's dimensions a qualifier for someone in Lot 2 to propose this application?
Yes, I mean, Lot 1 has to meet setbacks, frontage, lot size.
It couldn't create a non-buildable lot. And so in that sense, they are connected to each other, but there's no requirement of common ownership.
Right.
It doesn't.
I'm thinking about, for example, over here on our Thornton property, we have some grandfathered lots that are smaller than 20,000 square feet. Adjacent to that, the Lot 1 would disqualify Lot number 2 because it isn't 20,000 square feet.
Right, you can't take more off of a non-conforming lot.
Could you still do it next to a non-conforming lot?
Yes.
Okay, so that 20,000 square feet in Lot 1 and that 100-foot frontage isn't a qualifier necessarily.
Right. So
But
Right,
you can't
right.
take from a lesser.
You can't have the neighbor give you some.
And this
rather
ordinance
than
is in our subdivision ordinance, and so almost all of these are coming from creating this flag lot out of existing lots. And so, but yeah, if Lot 1 was sitting in front of, say it's Lot 5 that we're making 2 and 4 out of, that would work fine.
So I think this is a good example. The one next door to, you got the Taylors here, and you got Rob's property. I think this one's a good example. This is less than the 20,000 square feet. And so it can't go less than 0.3863 because it's non-conforming.
Perfect example. But still allowed to do it. You don't have to be next to a 20,000. So that's super helpful.
Right.
That was my question, and
Right.
that answers it. I think the only other comment I have, very supportive of this, I think, will this allow in our plan that we have to submit every year of what we are doing, is this one, even though it's small and there's very few, is this one we can add as a, hey, this is something we're doing?
Not really.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. I mean,
I'm over saying,
Yes,
absolutely.
Legal counsel.
But I defer to Mike. He knows those regs a lot better.
What our 5 goals, I don't have them off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
it's reducing impact fees, accessory apartments. I'll squeeze it in there somehow and definitely make mention of it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, I don't know if it necessarily qualifies as meeting one of our goals, but we'll try.
Cool.
But it makes us feel good, and, that's something.
Well,
We
and-
feel like we're doing something.
When we're having those conversations with our legislators, it's just another feather in our cap. I would say I'm very supportive and would be very open to the 10-foot side setback as well. Would be, I don't know if that needs to be in a separate application, but would be open to that as well.
That doesn't
Yeah.
need to be in a separate application. You can make that decision tonight if you'd like
Right,
to.
tonight where we're just amending the ordinance, that's on council to amend it how they see fit, and then the applicants would come with an official application later, so, for their
More
lot.
comment, wearing my planning commission hat for a minute, now thinking outside of my application and thinking about the ordinance change. As I've talked with people, there were a couple that showed concern about, well, this isn't just going to give a developer an opportunity to come in and do a whole bunch of flag lots in a development. And I don't think that, we talked about that, and Brian was very clear on that. I don't think it allows that. It's just, a developer still has to divide and put streets and everything in.
Right. We made sure to keep that language in, that this is not a way to facilitate large developers fitting in more lots than would otherwise be there. And there are provisions we have in there that you have to take a look at future roadways and connections and access. There's a lot of ability that we have to prevent somebody from coming in and, you know, buying 15 acres and squeezing in a ton of flag lots.
So is that facilitated by, say, it's a maximum of 2 flag lots per property owner, per property
Per subdivision
parcel?
is the
Right.
Mike has that
verbiage.
in
Do you have that?
It says the proposed subdivision will create a maximum of 2 new residential building flag lots from the original lots or parcels.
Okay.
Question for you, Mike, or to Rob, I don't know. When we start thinking about utilities, so you're gonna have 2 water meters or 3. If there's the 2 of them, you got 3 secondary water connections. Where are these boxes going? How do you allocate where they go for easy reading? And I know we're going more to not so much a physical head looking at it. Can you walk me through how that would work in these scenarios?
Yeah, let me see, I had an email from Trent on this. Let me find it real quick.
And of course, access to them from the city side of the
I think,
meter.
and I haven't sit down with the Taylors to discuss this, but I think it was our intent in planning was that we would do, of course, home run sewer lines to both houses. So there'd be 2 sewer lines, not combine and go 1. So there'd be 2 sewer lines, 2 water lines, 2 secondary water lines.
But where do they go?
In the road or in the drive.
In the shared access drive? And then the meters?
I would assume, and you can tell me, Michael, I guess the city would tell us where, but I was assuming it would be right by the property line, you know, like it is in a regular residential home. There would just be-
And have we left enough room to do that? They don't need tons of room, but.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the width of the driveway, you know, for example, the fire code states if your home has a height greater than 30 feet, then you need to have 26 feet of driveway width. So they're going to have to figure that out, how those boxes fit in. Maybe they need an easement from the neighbor or, yeah, they're gonna need to take a lot of things into account on how wide the driveway is going to be. But yeah, we'd want those out on close as we can to the street frontage, yeah.
When you say an easement from the neighbor, would you perceive one of these would be in the neighbor's property? That I can't imagine
Like
too many
burying
people are
the
very
pipe.
excited about.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a traffic rated box, yeah, I hopefully they stay in the lane, for
Well,
those.
let's see, how many footage from the curb does the city have easement? Is it 1 foot or 2 foot or?
It's 2 feet usually behind the sidewalk.
Yeah, so maybe that could be put in that easement next to the fire hydrant or something like that, near the fire hydrant.
Well, again, I'm trying to just picture this, and maybe I'm not getting there. When you got that driveway, where is it
Yeah, I know what
going?
you're saying. I don't know. We haven't looked at that yet. They've got to be in that driveway some way. We don't want them in the middle where you're driving on them all the time.
You might have to do like a traffic graded
Yeah.
grade, perhaps do it inside a vault.
Yeah.
So it has a little more
Protection.
to support
Yeah.
fire truck or
Yeah.
something.
What is,
Do we need to add verbiage to that? Or is that kind of a standard code thing anyway that falls in something else? Another code
I
area?
don't think we need to add verbiage to it. I think that's something we can work out as city staff with the developer. I'm just trying to pull up one that we've recently done.
Do you anticipate sewer troubles, being able to get enough flow?
No, I don't think so. We've got to get an engineer out there, but it looks like we got really good flow from where the homes. The terrain
How
of
deep
that-
is the sewer in the main road?
Well, you can probably tell me how deep is the sewer. It's probably 10, 12 feet.
Yeah, we usually run about a 10-foot average. Who
Yeah.
knows what it is there on?
And so we got 10 feet, and then the homes will be built on a slope or up the hill. It's kind of, it has a grade.
And I know you can pump
Yeah.
and go up and then come out a
Yeah.
higher place, but.
Shouldn't have a problem.
So here's our most recent flag lot right next to Hollow Park. This flag lot here. So on their engineering plans, they have a 1-inch line with says install 1-inch water meter with traffic rated lid. So that's what we approved there.
Okay.
So you
very good.
anticipate that being in the driveway then?
Yes.
Now, it's always, oh, go ahead.
And
VI and the sewer now put six lines on the driveway. That's just kind of challenging, but.
Yeah, what Trent said was, the 2 water lines on one side of the driveway, sewer lines on the other side of the driveway, and the PI lines going down the middle. But he said there's other options as well.
You mentioned that there was some language you always are looking to clean up, create uniformity
Yes.
and what's expected and clarification. So that's always great. Love it when staff do that and kind of clean up our code. Will this be termed, this is not a road, it's a driveway,
It's a
right?
driveway, yes.
Okay, so
It's technically called the flag pole.
flagpole,
Yeah.
driveway, what do we allow for driveways right now as far as materials so that we're consistent?
So it just says, I think it just says hard surface, if I remember right. Let me.
It's the fire code rating. I mean, the rating for the fire
Okay.
vehicles. So it could be any surface as long as the engineers will show that it can handle those fire trucks.
Okay. I know with some developments we've said you have to have a hammerhead, so there could be full turnaround of emergency vehicles, and this would be a little bit different animal,
Yeah,
sounds
so
like.
the current code just says hard surface. And so now what we've done is just referred to what the fire code says. It says asphalt, concrete, or other material as permitted by the 2021 International Fire Code, which is
Okay.
that other material's at something that will hold a 75,000-pound fire truck.
Right.
And the current ordinance too, if you read through it, it bases a lot of the approval on whether a road a public street can go through that area or should go through that area. And there's a lot of discretion in that section, considering whether the city feels best that a road should go through there. What we've done is taken that language out and said, is there a road planned on our street master plan map? If it is, then the planning commission needs to consider that and whether that lot really should be built, because that's where we need a road. And so it's again referring to adopted maps or codes that we already have with that transportation map.
All right, very good.
So I just had a couple of questions. I'm also largely in support of this. I mean, the Framptons are my family. I know the Callises, the Bonnets, the Taylors. I mean, they're all, so I'll say that out loud. And also I think it's a responsible use of property. I'm not really well versed in flag lots to know why some of these cities aren't permitting them at all. And so are there reasons other than aesthetics that cities opt not to have flag lots? Because I understand you don't want crowding, you don't want whatever, but is there other reasons why a city's like, no, it's bad?
I think it's mostly that encroachment. You're closer with a structure to someone's backyard. Provo City just amended their ordinance where they were mostly always against flag lots, but they just opened it up now and are more supportive of flag lots. So I think that's the main reason is you don't want to feel like someone's building right on top of you.
Gotcha. And then the other thing was I was meeting with a rep recently, and they were talking about infill legislation, talking about subdividing lots. And so right now, the way this is written is, it's like, oh, it's a 20,000. I mean, it would be in our R120 zone. What are the implications of this policy if the state were to come in and make a bigger change to say we couldn't cap it that way? would it all of a sudden open like every lot to a flag lot?
Still have to have access. I don't think it opens up every one because there's lots of properties that don't have the, enough sufficient frontage for a fire truck turnaround.
Gotcha.
I mean, Orem and Spanish Fork cities, they both allow multiple units. They allow, like, I think Orem in that table.
They have up to
They
four.
up to four.
Up to 4 is the most.
On a flag lot, shared flag lot. Spanish Fork, they said they've got rid of their flag lot ordinance, and that's where they're putting their duplexes and triplexes, is more behind on a deeper lot on the property.
Gotcha.
So,
Thanks.
Yeah, noting here, the majority of our sister communities, our flag lots are pretty standard fare, so. Sounds like there's been a lot of great thought and discussion around this, and, it's carefully crafted so that it serves those residents who have something landlocked especially, or it's gonna be a soft approach to infill. I feel like it's a good approach that way, and then, it's not gonna be opening the floodgates to more than we realize. I don't see a lot of,
Agreed, especially.
I don't see this opening, yeah, exactly.
So,
It's gonna be a modest adjustment, similar to when when I first got on the planning commission in 2011, we revisited accessory apartments and, removed some of those barriers, and it's been a great thing in our community, so.
I did attend the planning commission when they reviewed this, and they had similar questions. We spent some time on the laterals.
Yeah.
There was some other information that came out during the planning commission, but they were, again, looked at it from a lot of different ways, and they had a unanimous acceptance of it as well.
Yeah.
Seems like it's an okay thing, a good thing to move forward.
Well, I do see we have one. Kim would like to make a public comment here. Kim Bonnet.
I have a public question. We have a piece of property that sits right behind Callis's, and it's kind of a flag lot shape. So what's the regular, isn't 55 feet what the city requires for a regular city road?
it's 50. 50-foot right-of-way for a local street.
I'm talking, if you're just gonna do a subdivision, is it standard, is it 55?
Yes, 50.
50?
Mhm.
Okay, so this piece of property I have has it has 55, it's 60 feet. But it is only got 2 lots available there to do. So if I decided to do that someday, would you require me to put a full city street in there? Or because of the cost of it, I mean, I've got the space to do it, but because of the cost of it, I'd rather do a flag lot for 2 lots. That's the question I have.
Well, it looks like under this ordinance, I'll let staff answer it before I speak.
Kim, it's the one that
Just
faces this road right here, right, that they have up on street? Not that one, but the next one down, I would imagine.
It's further to the east.
Oh,
To the east.
over here?
Right there in the hollow.
Well, it's to the top of that blue.
So you would want to make 2 lots in there, or how many?
I've already had it plotted out once, just because I was curious. There's 2, a little over 20,000 acre lots.
20,000 square feet.
But there is 55 or 60 foot, I think, of frontage there that you could put a city street in. But obviously, because more likely that's gonna be family members that ever live there, you could do a flag lot scenario road in there as easily and a lot less costly.
Right now, it looks like the ordinance requires there's 100 feet of frontage on the public street to have a shared driveway flag lot. I think that would be a great question just to meet with staff and
Yeah, let's
sketch
meet-
it out. Yeah.
Let's meet and go over it.
It requires 100 feet
Well,
to put a regular city street in.
no, it only requires 50 feet. But let's see when I sit down and look at that, so I know exactly.
I'm not doing anything, it made
Yeah.
me wonder, are you gonna be nice about it, or are you gonna make me put a city street in?
I think if anything, this creates more options for it by taking the pole and allowing multiple lots. That would facilitate 2 lots, whereas before under our current ordinance, you only get one lot per flagpole, and there were some other requirements about intervening and distance between the flag lots or in between the flag lots. So I think this facilitates what you're talking about, but you'd still have to meet all of the requirements of the code. But this opens the door to that possibility more. So.
All right, any other public comment or questions?
Seeing none, I'll motion to close the public hearing.
Second. Oops, no, Lincoln got it.
Motion by Councilmember Hoyt, seconded by Councilmember Jacobs. All in favor to close the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll bring this back to you, council, then, for any further discussion or questions with staff.
Yeah, I'm going to have one a little bit with the side setback. Is it possible to end up then with a 10 and a 10, so you get a home setback off the road and have two homes 20 feet apart from each other? Am I visualizing that correctly? That makes me a little uncomfortable.
It's no different than in the front ability. I mean, how many people are going to have?
No, I understand that,
yeah.
but again, that concept with the councils before, and we've talked about it over the years, that now that you've gone in the back to create keeping a little more space. So I'm maybe not anxious to change that one.
Where do you see the 10 and the 10? I mean, I'm looking at lot number 2.
That's our normal setback, like lot 2.
Right.
Setback, yes, is 10 and 10. Rob's asking if this 15 could be changed to 10.
So, and yes, to the mayor's point, and a lot next to them could be 20 feet apart, but now you've got them stacked in the back, and now I'm not sure I'm getting comfortable with two homes, and it may not happen very often, two homes set back at 20 feet apart is all.
Well, the two in the front would have, a total of 45 feet apart because of the 25-foot minimum driveway. So then you're talking about the two in the back might be 20 feet apart, but from one another, and then there wouldn't be anything next to them in the back potentially, just be people's backyard or property, because the likelihood of having a whole row of a second row of flag lots.
Again, so I'm just visualizing, okay, I have the lot next door to them, and I have this big lot, and I don't want to have a flag lot, and I like my space back there, and now I've got a home right there close to my backyard where I've kind of had that openness. I guess I'm going to just say I'm opposed to the changing that to a 10.
Sure, absolutely.
Well, if we look at this example and we say, okay, that's showing 100-foot frontage and 100-foot frontage and then a 25-foot lane. If that lane was gone and you had two 100-foot lots together and you're allowing 10 on each side, it'd still be 20 feet apart.
I get that on the main road.
Yeah, so why is it different in the back? Is my question.
For that scenario, the other people, they have a deep lot.
The other, I think one other
Potentially.
thing that I was just thinking of too that may come into play with this is the flag lot ordinance also does say, while you have that 30-foot front setback here, you can orient your home however you want to. And so if you oriented your home where this is the front facing the 15 feet, that 15 feet does create a little bit bigger, front area of your home as well. So I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yeah, I didn't follow that, sorry.
Yeah, so the ordinance, well, this is right here, this line parallel here, while it says that's the front lot line, the existing ordinance, and we kept this in here, says you can orient your home in any direction. So
Change the front.
yeah, so while this is your front setback, you could have the front of the home on here and have your garages on the side. And so maybe that's why the council at that time too wanted 15 more feet or 5 more feet for a side yard setback, because that you could orient the front of your home that direction.
And reorienting doesn't change the setback. So if the front was facing left, It would be a 15-foot.
Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank
The
you.
definition of front is with the parcel, not the orientation of the home, I guess,
Mhm.
on those setbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I'd point out, though, is that it may be something, and Brian likes, as you mentioned, you don't like, or you like to take the options out, that if a parcel, like on my lot, it's a pie shaped, and so maybe there's some differences than this square shape.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point too by Van. There's a few in Orem, some flag lots I've seen where they've stacked several back there, and it does look odd. And I could see what you're saying, stacking two together. It's a valid point for sure.
So like in the example you offered, it's like one of the flag lots is not developed, and that neighbor experiences sort of intrusion because it's closer in a way.
A potential flag lot, yeah.
I think a good example, imagine, Cole, if you lived in lot 1 and you had this beautiful space behind you for years and years and years, and then they put a lot 4 and a lot 3 and then put them 10 feet, totaling 20. Would that, as you know, it would definitely change the look of your backyard. You've got now 2 houses closer than normal. But I guess not closer than normal because 10s are normal. So
It would
I
be
see,
normal.
I see both sides for sure.
Yeah, and I think if you want to keep a permanent view, you need to acquire the land.
Well said. And still, we're talking about 20,000 square foot lots, which you don't find
Big.
anywhere in
It's
Utah
not
County.
like Orem because they're
It
doing,
isn't. They're doing them
they're
on-
doing quarter-acre lots, flagging all over the place on little lots to
Some
start
of them
with.
have 8-foot side yards.
Yeah.
They're setbacks. Thank you.
All right.
Any further discussion? I'm happy to make a motion if.
Well, I think we're all pretty in favor. I guess maybe some discussion on where you guys are at on the 10-foot versus the 15-foot. If there's strong feelings either way, I think I could get comfortable with either, frankly.
Or you could split the difference.
Or if you wanted to make a motion, Lindon, and we can act accordingly. And
Do we want to deal with the 10 right now, or I'm fine either?
Discuss it however we want. So like, you've heard me, so I would prefer to keep it as the 15 as proposed.
Steve Lincoln Cole, I totally see where Van's coming from, and I'm very comfortable approving it at 15, and I think I'd be comfortable with if someone wanted a motion to put it at 10 as well. I think I would be fine with that as
I
well.
think what the mayor just said about the size of the lot too, we're not talking about it's going to be built right there, it's just that's the minimum. And I'm thinking 5 feet is the difference. And I think I'd be okay with the 10.
Or you could
It's a
compromise
5
and say
foot that
12.
gets doubled.
Doubled, it's 10. That's
Yeah.
a good point.
Yeah.
Or you could compromise and say 12, and then you get 24 feet between. Would Van, are you firm at the 15-foot minimum, or would you let it go to a 12? Could you support a 12-foot?
12.6.
Going on to it. So to
13.1.
the-
I think I'm still at the 15.
All right.
I get where he's coming from too. I could be comfortable with that.
I'm good with making a motion with that 15 as is. If there's a need for us to come back and revisit this because it's a problem with somebody who wants to put something in, I think we can chat with it at that point.
And certainly as I say this, when there's an odd-shaped configuration that could come into account, there's things that you can maybe look in that regard. Obviously, the square diagram is probably never going to happen just like that, but, so anyway, there you go.
Well, I'd like to ask a question of our attorney. I know one of the things that we're trying to do with our code is to start to have more clean and clear language to not leave, a situation where we look like we're being capricious and arbitrary. So
I would really just rather go with
Have
a
it-
solid number.
versus saying, oh, come get a conditional use.
Because
in
once
this
we
scenario.
start setting those up, we just go down this of setting precedent after precedent, and so it's just cleaner to have a set number.
I think going less than 15 is fine. I don't get a vote, but I think that would be fine to be open to that.
You want to make a motion?
And in
If I do, I'll make it as presented and as shown.
When we do get to a motion, can I just make a quick comment, a technical? We need to just amend paragraph 12. It refers to section 6H. With our changes and everything, we stop at 6G. So that needs to be modified to 6G, just
Okay.
technically, a technicality there.
Cool, strong feelings either way. I could be comfortable with a van motion, or I'm happy to make a motion as well at 10 if you want to jump on board, whatever you're thinking.
Yeah, so just to make sure I'm understanding, I guess the pain point for those in the flags would be less home, right?
Could
Like
potentially, absolutely make a home smaller.
Okay.
Again, you're on a half-acre lot, so.
Right. So that's like a pain point, right? And the wanting the 15, so you're saying the front part, if we did it at 10, it mirrors the back, and you're saying that it does mirror, but you would prefer to have a wider space. So it's not going to be narrowing it beyond what's in front. It's just you're saying in the back it'd be better to have it a little wider. Am I tracking? Okay. Yeah, not strong feelings, but I could be 10 leaning.
We close the public comment. I'm so sorry, but do you have a question or a comment?
I just had a comment, but that's okay.
That's all right. We still have your grandfather applicant here. We'll consider it part of the applicant's involvement here.
And just like, while we were talking about when a flag lot isn't a perfect square on a map, having the 30 feet frontage is still giving a ton of space from the homes in front of you and behind you, because you have to have 30 feet setbacks behind as well. But when the lots are different shapes and sizes, when it comes to the side setbacks, it does shrink your site plan of where your buildable area is, especially the way that certain lots are conformed, where your frontage line actually starts might be more property than usual based off of. And you have a big hill on that one side, so it makes it gives you tricky for you. A tricky situation, and like we said, we want to take the discretion out of it, but with the 30 feet frontage, setback is still a lot for a flag lot, and then I think the sides would just give a little bit more of a buildable area. Not saying that you would use all that, but.
Yeah, and I think I'm trying to imagine certain scenarios, and obviously we can't flesh out every possible scenario, but you're requiring the two front lots are half-acre minimums, and there's a lot of, and my yard is, it's going to be really deep, and now, maybe a neighbor has built something deep. I'm just looking at it in the back of my huge half-acre lot where it's my open space. It's not like windows are looking inside at my house, right? Because my house is far to the front. In the reality, it's out.
Might have a 60-foot setback on it.
Yeah.
And not a 30-foot setback.
And so whether it's left to right, to me, doesn't really affect my quality of life. If I were imagining this if I was lot 1 or 2, yeah, or even
situations where you've got a 12,000 square foot lot on the front and a 20,000 in the back, because this does apply to the R112 zone too. So
good to know.
That's a good point too. It's a good point. It's hard. I'm back and forth.
Although in an R12, I don't know how much, if you had that much acreage, you might just want to do.
This isn't allowed in the R12. That would be, oh, okay.
Might want to just make that size lots all around versus a bunch of 20,000 square foot lots, if you could.
But in the R112, does it have to be a 20,000 square foot?
On
In the back, the flag
The
lot
flag
has to
does.
be 20,000.
Okay.
Yeah, so I only know of a couple properties that,
Yeah.
this could happen on.
Okay.
So I thought the front lot that's trying to make the shared driveway also has to be 20,000.
No, it just has to match what the zoning says, so either 12,000 or 20,000.
Okay.
You could have a 12, 12, 20.
Either zoning scenario, the backyard has to be, the back lot has to be a half acre lot.
Okay.
All right, council, any thoughts from Councilmember Jacobs or Stewart on this? Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm all right with it. I 100% see where Van and Lincoln are, though. I could be so comfortable with that as well. But for the sake of the meeting, I'll go ahead and make a motion. I'd like to move that I'd like to move to recommend approval.
Sorry, I messed up on that motion. You'll move to approve.
I'll move to approve ordinance amendment 2025-2-0, paragraph 12, 6G
Modifying the 6G.
instead of 6H, with the 10-foot setback instead of the 15. Otherwise as presented.
Are you done?
I am, sir.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Hoyt, seconded by Councilmember Jacobs. We'll call the vote.
Okay, before we vote, I'm highly in favor of the flag lots, plain and simple. Love it, want it to happen, absolutely.
Yeah, let's make sure we reflect that properly in the minutes, that it's not a.
So the no
All
that
right.
comes is at the 10 feet part.
Yeah, so yeah.
All right. Any further discussion? We have a motion. All right, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, it passes as 10 feet. All right, we'll look forward to seeing what comes. Yes. All right.
Thank you very much. Sure appreciate you guys.
I noticed there's 3 other lots on your main drive. Is that approved? Is that moving forward? That's future down the road?
That's open space. That's a deer pasture.
Branch.
Saw them on
horse.
the map there and
Yeah,
thought
it
maybe
is.
they were coming down the pipeline. Thanks,
It's
Rob.
deer pasture.
Mine isn't, I'm only at 12,000.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you for coming in. Now we just need you to have a lot of kids to fill the schools.
It's coming.
That's right. We love it.
Good luck. Thanks, Jake.
All right, council. We are now on to item number 9, and this is a discussion item regarding our 2025-26 budget proposal. So we'll invite our finance director to come forward. You all should have received today some amended information that she sent out. Is that updated in the staff report now?
You kind of are.
So I just emailed out, there's a revised
If
one
you
that
have
she
concerns, and especially
Yes,
this.
so we
meeting,
sent-
I'm just saying,
Okay, is it in the staff report that we'll see here? Okay.
I have a copy.
Yes, anything that you're having trouble with, now's when you're saying it so that they can tweak.
I think this was for you, and I ended up.
And so, for example,
Sorry.
some of those capital improvement projects have come out from before, and that's why that budget went from, 54 to 45 or whatever. That's just because projects were saying, okay, well.
All right, welcome.
Good evening.
You-
Yes, thank you. See how well my eyes work to be able to do this.
Yeah, it's a big monitor, but not big enough.
Right, yeah, but I can't find the mouse.
Oh, it's.
There it is, okay. All right, here we are. So tonight is, like, I call it a work session. So it's we're not gonna act on anything, not approving anything, just giving lots of direction. So, sorry, I've got lots of different notes and stuff. Okay. So there's been changes made since the tentative budget. The tentative budget had most all of the budget requests in. And it was a $57.8 million budget, like the largest I've done. And so now we've scaled back, and it's a $41.7 million budget. And the bonding in the tentative was about 17 million, and now it's 5. So that is much more doable. We're looking at a pretty stable economy, as far as I can tell, in my crystal ball. And so, as I mentioned tonight, if I can just get, now tonight is the time to voice your concerns, give direction, and how we want to proceed. Because it's a lot easier to change budgeted items at this point than it will be when I'm presenting the final budget. Doing it on the fly, yeah.
Can we talk about that, and maybe this would be into Juan a little bit? So we've reduced the bondable amounts and, utility projects and stuff. What are you thinking you still want that you want to bond for? And why do we need to bond for it, and why those can't be pushed back, or why we can't save for them? Kind of just as an overall.
Where we scaled back was on all the utility work that needed to be done on the road reconstruction, on the sewer, Lakeview, Gilman, the water line on 900 East, Center Street. So we did away with all those capital projects that needed to be done before we rebuild roads. The one we are keeping is the completion of well number 5 and the connecting lines to be able to hook up that well to our network. Right now, those connections are being quoted as about $1 million just for the connections. That is to connect our 16-inch line coming out of the well in front of 600 North. All we have there is an 8-inch line, and going past Main Street towards Locust, it's even smaller line. So we have to make that pretty much a 12 or a 14-inch line from 2nd East to...
Right, okay, I understand that part. So that part you're planning to keep in?
Yeah, and then the construction of the well, it's equipping the well with a 2,500 gallon a minute pump. We are testing the well for production on starting Wednesday or Thursday. We'll start drawing big volumes of water, see what the aquifer does. With the amount, with the design that my engineer says, okay, if we go for the 2,500 gallons a minute, it takes this kind of pump, this kind of casing or column pipe, and then we have a transformer, we have a VFD, we have the building, and all the other components, and that they gave me a bid between $2 million and $3.5 million based on what that pump we want to equip that well with, or will produce. We're hoping that well will produce much higher amounts of water, but at this moment for the city needs, we will only need to do about 2,000 to 2,500 gallons a minute.
If we need to get more and the well's capable of that, does your plan, when you talk about a 2,500 gallon per minute pump, is that easy to change, or
so
to
we
go
will
to
equip it with a 2,500 gallon a minute with the possibility of maybe upsizing it to a 4,000 gallons a minute if the well produces sufficient. That's probably going to be many years down the road, depending on how the city grows.
So what's the process? You just have to pull out that pump and put the other one back in?
Yeah, we're going to put like a 12-inch pump, but we have a casing that can fit up to a 18-inch pump, right? And then we can lower it another 300 feet. So that's the reason why this well was so good.
Right.
With the
So
way-
the bonding is just for that well and the development, the pump and the connecting, and there's no other part that you're planning to bond for?
Right, so the actual development and the well, we already paid from this year's budget. This 3.5 million, worst case scenario, we're hoping to get that amount lower, would be to install the pump, the column pipe, motor. The motor is gonna be like a 750 horse motor. That's a big motor. The transformer that goes with it is also large, the VFD, and the building itself.
So it's the 3.5 and the 1.5, hopefully worst case scenarios.
3.5 for between 2.5 and 3.5 for the building and the equipment, plus 1 million to make the connections on the road.
Thank you, that helps a lot.
Okay. All right.
Want to stick around here for the streets? Or?
All right. All right, so I'm going to start with talking about the revenues. And so this chart shows where the money's coming from throughout the city, citywide budget. And it's net of fund balance, uses of fund balance, basically are the savings or transfers. So the net revenue is 35 million. And you can see from the graph where it's all coming from. Quite a bit of sales tax and charges, utility charges.
What's proceeds from financing mean?
That's the bond. So it's 5 million now, and so 4 million is in the water fund for the projects Juan was just talking about, and then 1 million is for the police vehicle lease.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Okay. And then looking at the utility rate increases, just it's looking, there's the water, the sewer, and there's different increases for the base and the usage, stormwater. So now garbage and recycling, we're not proposing an increase. We have a pretty good fund balance in that, and it's not one that needs a good fund balance because it's just an operating fund. There's no capital things that we need to save for.
What is the increase on that? I remember reading it, I just not remember.
So Republic Services is requesting a 4% increase, and so we're able to absorb that without passing that on to the city, to the residents.
What would that have been in dollars and cents? So you got the 8.15 or a 5%, 5.5. How much would the 4% be in the garbage and recycling?
I didn't calculate it out for all the residential use. I just was able to plug in the 4% increase, and we had enough fund balance to cover it. So when I calculate the garbage and recycling rates, there's a lot of variables that I'm trying to estimate, and so there's the weight of all of the refuse. There's a gas fuel fee.
Yeah, I get all that. One of the things that I would say, I'm talking to my neighbor, your utility price just went up $8.15, but as a city, we saved you.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have a ballpark on what that figure.
Right, the true cost that could have been passed
Yes.
on.
Right.
The city was able to absorb, because at some point that will come back in a future one, because we can't absorb it forever.
Right.
But I'm not saying go spend 3 days to get that number by any means.
No, I can calculate how much the 4% is. Chase, can you do that? Do you have the budget pulled up, like a copy? Okay, I was just curious. You don't have it, so. So I'm going to the budget page.
And if
The
it's
actual.
I wanted to say 4%.
The actual detail.
But that was kind of my point.
Yeah, it's a good point.
For the solid waste collection fund. And then it is waste collection fees, 660,000. Recycling is 115. And if I take that times 0.04, that's 31,000. Is that what you're asking, or you were asking on the rate?
How it would
itself?
impact my neighbor, and we saved him X on his utility bill. And they'll consider it all one bill.
Right. Okay, I don't have the actual rates in my head, but yeah, I can calculate that. Yeah, I can totally calculate that.
Get it and send it to you.
Close-ish.
Yeah. So if it's 50 cents or $1.50, that's what you're looking
Yes.
for. Yeah.
I'm trying to decide if I use the 4% or if I use the 7 cents.
It might be 12 cents. Yes.
Right. It's off the top of my head, I think it's like $12 and something for the first can, and it's $5 and something for the recycle. So looking at $17 times 4% times 12 months, $8.16.
Oh. That was quick.
I think I'm staying with the 4%. Thank you.
Okay. And then there are some specific fees, utility charges that we apply just to Anderson Farms for the secondary water metering and the groundwater pumping. And those are also going up 4%. Any questions on the utility rate changes? Oh, and then I have a box that's talking about the average utility bill going up $8.15 a month.
And that's what I was referring to.
Right.
The 8.15, and if we had the garbage.
Right, yeah.
But again, I think I'll just stay with the 4%.
Yeah, I think, roughly about 70 cents per month.
That's still not bad, though.
Yeah, something.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay. And you are all understanding or okay with those?
Go to your left. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Jake, that's the question.
What's that?
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm thinking in my brain, is there ever a world where, ever a time, and I understand enterprise funds that they are a net zero, we try to, where we are so flush with sales tax revenue, so flush because of who we've brought in and what we've done, that we say, you know what? It's a sewer lift station, but we're doing a sales tax bond. Can we even legally do that?
Yes, you could, but I think you get better rates for utility projects would be my first thought. I want to say that the interest rates would be better on those. There's also state loan funds that are good for utility loans that are better than the market. And so that was my first thought, is that you can probably get a better rate if you're having to borrow money for big projects.
I imagine a lot of these increases have to do with some of the debt we're taking on, right? We're calculating out what those payments will be. We're calculating within our utility rate. You know, when people ask us, why are my utility rates going up $8? And it's, well, we've got large capital expenses now and on the horizon that we're trying to account for, and it's a hard conversation, but it's a very realistic conversation. These are very real costs now and in the future, and if we want to have this thing pay for itself, and it would just be interesting if we get to a point where that sales tax revenue is just so much that you just say, man, I hate to see some of these fixed income residents struggle when we're looking for places to spend money. You know what I mean? When our park tax that we thought was going to be 300,000, $1 million. You know what I mean? And we're so flush with cash. And so I don't know. That's where my mind is. For now, I think I'm comfortable with what's being proposed. I understand it and understand the hard conversations that it has. And it just, it's a hard one, and I wish there were creative ways we could lower the impact of inflation. And it's not the city, you know what I mean? You have to let people know it's not the city. But I think you could get to a point where perception is like, wow, the city is so flush with cash. You're building these great new parks. You're doing all these things. I'm dying. It's hard for residents to separate the two and say, why are you charging me $8 more? And so, I don't know. That's where my thought process is. I don't know that there's anything to do besides try to explain it well to residents and citizens. And you know, I think we've thought of creative ways. I think we can continue to try to do that. And I don't know that I'm ready to do anything drastic like bond for a sewer lift station with a sales tax bond. But anyways, always something I'm concerned about.
I know the council's really conservative and hesitant in regards to bonding, but something to keep in mind, and Cole asked me this question recently, and something that I've actually heard in former training sessions down in St. George and at our league conferences. For some of our projects, right now we're basing a lot of our a lot of our utility rate increases on trying to pay as we go. And so we're having to increase the dollar amounts to pay as we go. And those increases may be higher than if you were to bond and borrow money for these projects, because you're trying to pay off a huge amount in a short amount of time instead of stretching it over a 15 or 20-year period. Yeah, you're paying for interest on that, but that annual payment is less every year, so you have to increase your rates a smaller amount. Does that make sense?
It does.
And so the other aspect to bonding for it is you're allowing the opportunity by saying, we're gonna pay this over a 15 or 20-year period. You're allowing newer residents that don't even live here yet to help pay for that infrastructure that they are benefiting from for the upsize or the increase that we may be adding to our infrastructure. Right now, as with a pay-as-you-go method, you're essentially asking current residents to pay 100% for something that's going to benefit future residents. And so a couple things to keep in mind. Bonding isn't scary as long as we can cover our costs. And so I know it's great to avoid debt and interest, and we would at all costs, but there's probably an opportunity to look at this and say, you know what, if we did this and threw in some bonding for some of these projects, which we're gonna have to do, we just won't generate enough. You're not gonna wanna raise rates high enough to cover it as a pay-as-you-go. At some point, that could be a beneficial conversation to have. I know Orem, just a few years ago, they had changed their rates to go to more of a pay-as-you-go method, and LRB worked with them and said, hey, given the current rates at the time, they borrowed some money and they were able to stretch that out. It decreased the increases that they would actually make every year for the percentage increases on their utilities, and so they switched to philosophy to more of a bonding method.
And we've got a little bit of both here, because this reflects a bonding of what, $4.5 million?
4 million, yeah.
I like that. That's the type of thinking that I love, and I think let's have those conversations in our retreats and in our conversations and weigh the pros and cons, gather good information to make good decisions. I think that's great. I think that's something we should at least consider as inflation doesn't look like it's going anywhere but up. So.
All right. Then moving on to expenditures, taking out transfers and appropriations to fund balance. We're looking at about 37 million in expenditures, and you can see how it's divided out into personnel, operations, and capital. And then looking at that, starting with personnel, the CPI is one of the things that we look at when evaluating a COLA proposal for employee wages, and the CPI for the 2024 calendar year averaged 3%. So that's not looking at like what was it from December to December. That's looking at each month's change and then averaging that change. So it gives you a stable view. And we're proposing a 2.5% wage increase, and that would be effective July 5th. That's the first day of the first pay period of the new fiscal year. And then looking at merit, we have a step scale, and so going up one step is about 2.6%. It is conditioned on an employee's evaluation, and it would be effective in January, and it's been our custom that we would come back to City Council and make sure that the City Council, having 6 months under our belt, and to say, are you still okay with that merit increase in January? And we usually do that in December. So the 2.5 and the 2.6 is a total increase of 5.1%. And the cost of the COLA and the merit increases and the associated benefits is $387,000, and then you can see how that is broken out between the different funds based on where an employee is paid out of. Any questions on COLA and merit? Concerns, opinions? All right, I just want to make sure I'm
No, I
allowing.
appreciate the thoughtfulness. I know we discussed this several times. And I appreciate, I think this always is a conversation simply because of the sheer size of that expense, right?
I mean, I support keeping people, and I will say, like, the feedback that I get sometimes when it comes to compensation, I've noticed that it's targeted to the higher earners. When they're like, oh, we're giving raises to people who they think are making good money. I haven't heard arguments saying, this person they perceiving that isn't getting paid very much, getting raises. But so that's just something I've received feedback on to say that. But individually, I think supporting people to keep them and making sure that we have congruity and services and the best services is good. But that's some of the feedback that some people have given to me lately about that.
As in employees, city employees?
Yes, meaning
that they don't get the same percentage increase as other people?
No. If I'm making $10,000 a year and somebody's making $100,000 a year, he gets a 5%, he gets a 5%.
Yeah. I see.
That's, and I've heard that not in our city, but multiple.
That's exactly said better than I. So when I do receive feedback, it's typically in that spirit.
And I just want to make I am going to vote in favor of this when it gets to that, and I'm pleased that we can do it. I'm pleased with our conservative nature, value the employees, but I'm going to take a little bit of tell you things on my street. 2 people got laid off.
Yeah.
2 did. I've talked to 2 different business owners, no raises at all. And they're hoping to keep all of their employees. And so I'm just saying it's the balance that we try to get, and that I hope that this is perceived as very, very nice, because not everybody gets that. And again, so I just throw that out again to have that background too. So I'm just always in between those 2. But I will be voting for this.
Thank you for that comment, Ben.
Okay, so one of the things that we do, and we're doing it annually now just because the information is a lot easier to get. We're doing a salary study, and it's just to make sure that we're still competitive at each position. And so we found 17 positions, which affects 23 employees, that were out of the competitive bell curve that we look at, that they were below the 5%, below the average. And that's not saying what is this employee at, it's saying that position, the mid-range for that position on their range is here. How does that compare with other cities? And so usually when we do that correction and we're changing what range that they're paid on, when they go up a range, will sometimes take them back a few steps, so that they're still getting paid a little bit more than what they are currently, never less.
Right, right.
We don't go so far back on the steps that they're less. And so, so with some, there's more increase than others, and so just because we're just trying to find that right step, and the cost of that with benefits is $30,000. And then looking at insurance premiums,
I'm sorry, can I back up on
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
I'm just curious,
yeah.
on the 17 positions that were identified, being able to move to higher ranges, how many total positions were studied?
The entire city, so
Yeah,
all of our
all.
positions.
So everything, okay.
Yeah, and we've, in the past, we've done this actually probably more in the line of 2 to 3 years, but the last probably 3 years since we've had these big inflationary jumps, we've looked at it more frequently, but it has been 2 years since we did an adjustment on any of the pay ranges, and so.
So the reason I ask that, you say every employee or every position?
Every position.
Position, okay.
Sorry,
And that's what
did
I'm
I say
asking, how
employee?
many different positions do we have that? I'm just curious about the percentage of, how many?
55, 60, probably in that range, showed yes.
So probably a third were identified as.
Yeah.
Curious.
Maybe not quite that many, maybe 50. Off the top of my head,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And there was a chart that I emailed to all of you. That might have been Friday. Did I send that to you Friday? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions on any of that?
No questions.
Appreciate your hard work. I know you guys have looked at this very closely. Appreciate, Adam, you presenting us with the turnover that has happened. It's it's something that we always looked at in the corporate world that I worked. And I appreciate, comments about scrutinizing and I understand the layoffs, and I'm part of that arena. Van, I get it really well. But I've also taken the information that the city has provided and I've compared it with other cities, right? And we need to be competitive. We need to be appropriately competitive. And in the research that I've done, in checking with the other cities, I'm finding it in harmony with, the cities that are competing around us. So my yes is not just going along with it. I feel good about it, yes.
Sorry, and you said what aggregator do you use or site when you're saying the position? Is there a particular company or report that says?
Yeah, this is it's software. The company that runs this, or the name of the software, it's Compensation Survey System or Survey Program. And it's one that we've used for a number of years. Most of the cities throughout the state participate in that. It's less than $1,000 a year. It's very inexpensive. And cities go in and enter their wage data. And we've picked a point in time and set everything off of that point. And so then it provides beginning, midpoint, and ending in the pay ranges for these specific positions, and they're all tied back to a specific definition for a job, and so you can look and see what they're classifying each of their titles as. Sometimes we have positions that are a little bit challenging to classify, and so our assistant court clerks in here, where they're now deputy clerks and maybe doing minutes and things, I don't know that I'm going to find somebody else that has a comparable job duty in another city. So there's some things like that where we're smaller, people are doing multiple roles. That is just a challenge, but most things we can peg pretty closely. We also throw out on some of the comparables, we try to throw out larger cities. So on like a supervisory role, we're not going to compare my city manager position to the city manager in Orem or Provo. And so we're going to cut those out of the data so that we're comparing similar sizes if we can.
That's awesome. Thanks.
It is interesting. I had another city, it was actually West Valley City in our Utopia board meeting. They were talking about merit and COLA increases for the Utopia employees. And West Valley, it sounded like they hire a firm to do this every year and pay tens of thousands to do a wage study. And the wage studies that I've seen that are from paid consultants are less data than what I think we can get off of this website,
Nice.
or off of this software. So I think it's a good resource. It's proven beneficial. So.
Nice.
Oh, I apologize. I missed it. I just found this, and thank
Oh,
you. It's
okay.
good. It's good
I hope
information.
that
This is
helps.
what I
There's
was
a lot
looking
of data
for.
there to digest, but it
Okay.
shows what we're
No, that's perfect.
okay, where they're currently at and what we're recommending that they move to. So.
I don't usually miss them, but I did.
Then moving on to insurance premiums. The medical insurance premiums increased 7.1%. The dental insurance premiums are remaining the same, so combined as a 6.9% increase for medical and dental premiums. And but we've proposed some benefit changes, and with those changes, the city's increase will only be 6.2% instead of 6.9%. So we're looking at changing some benefits in order to help save the city money, and also to help encourage employees to maybe look at the high deductible HSA plan, which in the long run saves the city money if the employees switch onto that plan. It will lower our increases. They've been having lower premium increases over year. So one of the things that we talked with, working with the mayor on this, that the employee premium participation will increase from 3% to 5%, and that's on all employees. And currently, and this would also apply to like the dental insurance, which has been covered at 100% for employee and employee plus spouse. It was 50% for family plans, but this is going to make it more uniform. So 5% for single, double family instead of highly weighted onto the family. And then also the premium participation, when we were talking with the mayor, it was like all the employees have skin in the game. And so the employees on the high deductible plan would have to pay out of their checks, whereas in the past they've been using their HSA allocation to offset the premium and then just have less go into the HSA. So like I put an example there of what I'm saying is, so if an employee has $25 withheld from their paycheck, and then the city puts $100 into the HSA, or if you take the same amount of money and it doesn't cost the city anything different, you can do cover the 25% medical premium, or $25, and then only put $75 into the HSA. And we've been talking to some of the employees about the changes, and the most pushback that we've gotten is employees would like to offset their medical premiums with the HSA, just have a lower HSA contribution rather than having the money withheld. So the money's being withheld from their checks, they're not getting that. It's going into an HSA, so yeah, that's theirs, but they can only get to it for medical, dental, or vision expenses. And then we had somebody that said, I need diapers now. Yeah. So that's why I just wanted to put this out here of, are we really set on the people that are taking the high deductible plan doing paying the 5% of the medical premiums, and taking that 5% out of their check and putting it into HSA, or are we okay netting it and they just have less going into their HSA, more going, come in their paycheck. This is where I am wanting some direction.
I like the idea of the more flexible approach so people can use their money in a way that helps them. So is that the one where you said they could have more, it wouldn't just automatically go towards an HSA that locks it in, that they could have, yeah, so I'm open to that one where they have more flexibility.
The other thing too, if you get people excited to participate in an HSA where, it encourages healthy lifestyle choices because you're going to have bankable money that you get to keep, unlike a flex spending account, you have to spend it or lose it in the calendar year. An HSA, even if you leave your employment, that's your money to keep. And then, you're opting to do a less expensive, instead of just like, I'm going to go to the doctor for every little sniffle. Well, now you might have a conscious decision like, oh, I'm going to have the higher deductible plan, and if I go for the little sniffle, I have to make a little bit bigger contribution in the co-payment out of my HSA. I'd rather keep my HSA money. I mean, or just choosing to, live healthier. It's statistically, but they would get incentivized, I think.
Right. Oh, yeah, because it's a high deductible plan. So until you make that deductible, you're paying out of your pocket, and so you're more aware of how much going to the doctor costs when you're having to pay that that full amount. And then but it's people are we allowing people to have the option to say, I'll pay that out of my pocket then if I need to? But they're definitely, if they're switching to the high deductible plan, they are aware of what things are going to cost.
So if I could summarize the question that Chris and I think you're trying to ask, what we heard from the mayor was a request for employees to participate at a higher level on the premiums and to go to 5%. And so the question that's being asked is, instead of paying 5% towards the premium, can employees get less in their contribution from the HSA, which would mean they might be 100% paid on their HSA, but they're getting less in the city's contribution to that HSA. Dollars is exactly the same.
The impact to the city
is exactly
the same.
It's neutral.
And the more flexible.
But from a political perspective, you're saying it's okay for an employee that selects the HSA to choose to have 100% of their premium covered, which is not uncommon. Just this afternoon, I looked online, Pleasant Grove, Spanish Fork, Lehigh, Springville, and Provo all pay 100% of the premium for their HSA plans, is what I found just this afternoon online. And so it is not an uncommon thing, but we want to make this transparent and bring this to your...
And one thing too, I mean, Adam, I don't know if it was shared, our renewal rate right now is 7.1%. So, when we talk about employee increases, when we're absorbing a 7.1% or 6.9 when you factor everything in total, that's another benefit to the employees, a total compensation package. So I think us asking, okay, costs are going up significantly every year, and if we encourage them to be more cognizant of their healthy lifestyle choices and accessing medical, and now they have all this flexibility. I love my HSA account. It's fabulous because you just can spend on things that you really want and need in those categories that qualify. Creates a lot of flexibility, and then it's your money to make those choices. But also our renewal with the insurance goes down versus majority on a traditional package. Our increased expense every year that's been happening historically, it was a lesser rate.
Yeah, right now we have about 2/3 of our employees are on the HSA plan versus a traditional plan. And so if we can get more people, as the mayor mentioned, over to that HSA, our insurance consultants think that over time our renewals in the future will be less as a city financially. And so that's been...
Yeah, this year we are changing from 3% to 5%. So that is more coming out of the employee's paycheck to participate if they're on the traditional. One of the things that we're looking at with the high deductible plan is that we're going to change the plan so that the decrease the benefits, but it increases the amount that the city will contribute into their HSA account by making more of a disparity between the two plans' premiums. The difference, so if you move over to a HSA plan, then you've got that difference between what the city would pay, the 95% of the traditional plan. That difference would go into the HSA account. So it's anyone that's switching over would still have money going into their HSA account. It wouldn't be as much if they're offsetting the medical premiums, but it looks more attractive to the end employee to say, oh, 100% of the premium is paid, and then I have money going into an HSA.
But to be noted, there's a cumulative 6.9% increase on the overall premiums now this year.
Well, it's 6.2.
6.2,
right.
excuse me.
Still, I know.
6.2, we had a couple numbers. And so of that, the employees are still getting a benefit where the city is still absorbing a percentage of an amount of the increase in costs. Still. So their overall compensation package is still more because they're not fully absorbing the increase.
What's the dollar cost total with a 6.2% increase?
Oh, I did not put it on there.
Kind of the dollars to the, I mean, we do that with all of those other ones. I was just wondering, I didn't see that there.
Right, I did not put that on there. I apologize for that, and I don't have it on me. I'll have to look that up and get that back to you. I apologize.
Thank you. I don't know what others think. If it's the same cost to the city, flexibility, I don't know if I have too much, no concern there.
I think I'm there too. I guess my question to you as managers, this is an incredible benefits package by all stretches of the imagination. Is this what's helping us hire great employees, or is it wages? I think I've heard a little bit from Adam that it's trending more towards that maybe the newer workforce is trending more towards wages than benefits versus benefits than wages. It all costs money, and I just think philosophically, I guess let me pose that question first. Is that accurate? Do you feel like it's trending more that way?
So the younger employees, newer employees, the wages are more important, is what I've found. And so when they're asking questions, the benefits, the details of the benefits, I should say, don't come up as often in a hiring setting. And it's more of, oh, I have benefits and I have health and dental. I mean, there's not a lot of people. Noah, our engineer, he's the type of person that he asked me every single detail and he wanted all the percentages and everything. And so there are those people that are looking at. But what I've found, like Noah, is the longer tenured somebody is, the more that these types of things help retain them. So it's the good benefits is what they're here for. They're far enough along in their wages and in their pay scale that that's less of a concern. Yeah. And so retaining people through benefits is what I found.
And the younger folks, they can stay on mom and dad's insurance till they're 26, and then life happens and they have to stand on their own 2 feet. So
I think wages is more important for the younger employees. Benefits tend to be a bigger thing for the older, more tenured employees. That's my opinion anyway.
I think I'm fine with it as well. I would like to see us continue to trend in this direction, as Mayor's indicated, of employees covering at least a portion of that increase year over year.
Same.
I'm good with the flexibility. I'm surprised our HSA, right as I went through my career, we shifted from traditional to HSA, and like Mayor said, I love my HSA account. in my insurance circumstances today, HSA doesn't make any sense. I can't make it work. I have to go back to traditional, which really shocked me. Flexibility, if it's the same cost to the city, flexibility I'm good with. Contributing to your HSA can be a really, really good thing.
Let's keep rolling.
All right. Let's see. I think we've already talked about all that. Okay. So then moving on to retirement. Overall, the retirement cost for the city is decreasing. The employer contributions for Tier 1 and Tier 2, police and non-police, are decreasing. The only thing that increased was the employee contributions for Tier 2. But I want to point out that even though it's considered the employee contribution, we are currently reimbursing the employees for that. So it's going from 0.7% to a 0.81%. So it's a very minimal increase and is very much offset by the other decreases.
I just had one silly note for me visually when I first read this. I would love to see a minus when you say it's a decrease.
Yes.
-1, -0.5.
Okay.
Just help me a little quick when I first get it.
Great, that's great news.
Yeah, it's good.
All right. Before I move on from personnel, anything else? Okay. Then going on to capital expenditures. General fund, 1.7 million. Most of that is for the police fleet vehicles. And then we have 250,000 for emergency fuel storage tanks up here in this campus, so City Hall and Public Safety. And Public Works. Sorry, that there was multiple locations for that 250,000. And then also at Public Works, 350,000 for dump truck and skid steer with attachments, and 10,000 for building improvements. And then 32,000 for arena retaining wall. And then in capital facilities funds, 1.3 million for the cemetery expansion. And then with the dedicated or restricted funds, the road fund, 1.9 million. Park tax is 250,000 for Pheasant Brook, and park impact fees is 200,000 for Pheasant Brook park improvements. And I wanted to clarify with Heath today, and so I called him, and he did accidentally duplicate. So the 200,000 is actually going to disappear, and we're just going to have 250,000 at Pheasant Brook Park for the work in the shade, and that will probably. What he's going to do is figure out how much is the concrete work, which cannot be paid for from impact fees, and how much is for the shade structure, which can be paid for out of impact fees. So both of those amounts will change, but it will decrease 200,000. So, and would be the time to ask questions about the road improvements.
Oh, perfect. Go on.
Kristen, if you go to your mouse down on that bottom, the PDF icon, there's the map there for road projects that one can explain to the right. Yep.
Okay. So on Kristen's budget, we had 1.9 million for capital projects. That is a moving target. The latest and greatest we have for the map I gave you shows some roads in orange, which if I had my glasses here, it says microsurface. Red is complete reconstruct. Blue is rehabilitation, which is mill and overlay. So that just milled a little bit and then you put a whole overlay. And then the green are the seal coats with that presentation we had from the folks from LTAP that kind of gave you an idea why we need to do some of these seal coats at certain times.
I'm curious, what is happening out here in the parking lot right now? What would this fall under, where you're removing the asphalt?
That will be in between a reconstruct, and so we're milling the whole thing, and we're hoping to pave right over it, but then we'll have to do it'll be a reconstruct with that will be excavating some of the road base. In some cases, we have to remove all the asphalt, all the sub base, put new road base with some kind of reinforcing mat to keep it structurally sound. So here we're doing the reconstruct, but lightweight, not a full excavation.
So you didn't have to do the sub-base, it would be a rehabilitation?
It'll be a rehabilitation of mill about an inch, and then relay a better crown.
You can certainly see why best roads first when you're doing it for 30 cents a square foot instead of $5 plus.
Correct. That map that on the red, some of the big reconstructs is the 600 North, coming from Locust to almost to State Street.
The roller coaster road.
The roller coaster. My first year here, I drove the backhoe on the Halloween parade when we did the moving parade, and I rode the backhoe, and that thing was just no suspension on it. That's about all the big reconstruct. Rehabilitation, some of the blue ones are on 200 South. You can see at the bottom there, that little L shape. And then the rest of them are pretty much seal coats and micro surface. The one coming from the roundabout by Home Depot, that you can see it's getting a few potholes and things. We're gonna micro that road. There's a few areas that we have to do patches, but that's still a savable road for another few years, and without having to do a full mill and overlay. And that price tag comes at the 1.53, when the initial plan I think we had on the budget was 1.9, but we're trying to pare down and then save the money for bigger projects. Yep.
So from the earlier plan, that Lakeview was on, and maybe 135.
Yeah, we had 900 East, 135 West, Lakeview, Gilman, Center Street from Geneva Road to 800 West, 200 South on Geneva, 1250 West to Geneva Road, 400 North, 1200 East to 600 East. That was about a $2.4 million price tag, and that was just the asphalt. Then we were looking at $15 million worth of bonding for water, sewer, stormwater, utility. So we decided to.
Did 135 West require sewer, water infrastructure?
A water line.
Okay. Yeah, 135 is a challenge. We've been talking about it in engineering meetings, every meeting almost. I bring it up. The 135, I'm a little bit hesitant to push it off and not do anything for a whole nother year. It's just in such horrendous condition, and it's near our sitters. It's where people access the city center park. Safety with the farmers market, kids coming on their bikes to go to this, their swim lessons.
Yep.
I really would like to see us, if there's a way possible, to revisit that one, or is it tied to something that is a big challenge?
It's a water line, and the water line estimate was in the $100,000. So what we can do is once probably Adam is gonna slap me. That's why I'm not even. That's why I'm not.
You have
even,
witnesses at least.
I'm not even looking that way.
Well, I'm voting yes for this.
I know.
Okay, so the $3.5 million we're bonding for the well and the connection. We're based that figure on an estimate from the engineer, without knowing how big of a going to the hard numbers on that construction. They gave me a 2.5 to 3.5 million to do that. If we bond for that amount and we happen to go lower, then I will probably have funds to maybe do a water line. And if we have this construction of 1.5 on the streets, and we budgeted 1.9. Maybe when those numbers come in, we can probably squish it in.
Because it's a little short, little
It's a
road.
smaller short. That 135 just for the asphalt, it's we're talking $150,000, and that I think that includes curb and gutter on both sides, but only no sidewalks, but it has a trail.
Right.
Like
On
an
the master
8-foot
plan.
asphalt trail. So
I don't think we had factored in property acquisition or anything into that, though, because the putting in the trail, we would have to cut into people's driveways and acquire a right-of-way.
I think we have the right of way. It would just be chasing driveways up the hill, doing improvements, landscaping, but then that doesn't include it here. So it's more on the, you're right, probably 175, 200,000 by the time it's all said and done with the.
Let us look at it, Mayor, but no promises on that one.
Yeah, that one
It's a much more complicated project than
I
I think
understand
you
it's
realize.
complicated, I know, and I've had my eye on it for 3 years, talking about it, and I know there's a lot of different factors, but it's our city center park, and there's so much activity there,
Well,
big events.
Tell us some of these
yeah.
other roads to take out that you would
Oh,
rather see.
I don't want to take anything away. I would like to, if there's ability to add to it, you're saying some costs could be favorable.
We're gonna bid this road reconstruction project, and as soon as we have the plans out, but we're gonna give them the option to the contractors is where can we get the best price?
And sometimes if you give them more volume, they'll
Or the
give that.
flexibility of where, if they can say, okay, we'll do it towards the end of the year, or we'll do it first thing, like with the prices we're getting for the parking lots, because we are the first jobs of the
Exactly.
season. The same thing with 2000 West, Staker Parson gave us a really good price because they want something to get started. So we're getting creative on when we are requiring the work to be completed, and
How detailed is the analysis of all the city roads? Like, if this map was color-coded every road, do we know how many reds we have in this city?
yes, we have that on a program that we can manipulate.
So you can see
and
different
it'll tell
sections.
us this year we recommend this many roads for reconstruction. For this particular number that we're looking at, we said, okay, we need to do this ones right now, and then there is some that we can play with it a year, 2 years.
And like 600 doesn't require water pipes or things, so it's
The only thing we have to do on that is just go find the water valves, dig down to them, and replace the bolts all the way around, because usually those are the ones that corrode, and then we blow the tops of the valves. And we've been doing even if we don't have a big water line, we've been going and replacing at least the bolts.
That's awesome. Something, Adam, that you said really resonated so much with me. It's like the budget reflects sort of priorities, and I think there's a couple of things that are very visible to residents, and this is one of them. And so it sort of serves as a canary in the coal shaft, sort of, if it's safe or not, if things are good rightfully or wrongfully. And so seeing reds reconstructed, I think helps send a signal that we want to maintain what we have, and we're not just in the land of acquiring, building new. I know we have some projects coming up that is in the acquisition, and so I appreciate any effort to signal that we want to maintain. And it might be 20 years, like that presentation was helpful to say. We have a lot of roads, so it might take a long time, but any intentional effort to tackle reds would be awesome.
And we do that almost every year.
That's great.
Just so you know.
Yeah. And so these long ones, like 135, I know that's been up for a long time. So any efforts there, I would second that effort. And if it is about reallocating funding, if we're stuck with this map and want to stick with these numbers, I'm happy to kind of look through it more closely and say, well, Songbird Cove just got built. It's like, but that's probably when you want to put the silk coat on.
Exactly. That's where Van
And
was
it's
making
not so
that comment
expensive.
that
30 cents a square
it's
foot
called
to
30
keep it
cents a
good.
square foot
To
versus.
extend 10 years to 15
Exactly.
years
So-
life on it.
So we have
Yeah,
to
so
balance, keep
Makes
that.
a lot of sense. I know when we're saying we're shifting things so we have a healthy fund balance for new things, it's hard when residents are like, but this one's not good, so.
Yeah,
that's
and
fine.
we're also coming from rebuilding Center Street and all of
Yeah.
Canal Drive. That was
a big one.
That was a big project that's kind of one of those that needed full rebuild with a lot of water and.
Water. I know the 600 and 625, they've been needing that a long time, and you've already finished 600 North up to that fork.
Yeah, so that was built with a different development, so that held up really good. It's
Yeah.
just the piece that got built with that other development that just the soils here in Lindon are so
Weird.
strange with.
Yeah, that's great, having that road on there.
So we'll keep working with the numbers we have, and then we'll try to squish
135.
135. We'll do better planning, and then we'll look at the numbers when they come in and see. We'll keep you informed.
1.9 last year, 2.5, significant, and most of that was payment.
Any other questions for Public Works projects?
So really only about 30.
You might want to stay up here because we're moving on to water.
Okay.
All right, so going on to the water and sewer and stormwater, there's the big 4.7 million in the water fund, and most of that is with the new well, the pumps, the well house, the water line connections that Juan was talking about earlier, and then 45,000 for improvements to secondary water system. And then sewer is about $500,000, and it's to rebuild 16 sewer manholes and get some sewer equipment.
So on those manholes are actually on the Orem side, south of, what street is that? 600 South. We are responsible for 80% of that cost because it carries our sewer water all the way to Orem's lift station. On that 480,000, that's the whole bid, and then we'll get 20% back from Orem.
Is it just wear and tear, or what's the reason for the rebuild?
So whenever you dump sewer to a lift station, the water just kind of backs up and becomes septic, and then you start getting hydrogen sulfide gases and start eating at the concrete. So it has deteriorated enough that they need rebuilt. And then also we found a few leaks in the system that contribute to more water getting into the sewer system.
Will we do any of those membrane things with it?
Yes, we got.
I can show you pictures cool as can be.
We got 2 bids from the 2 major players with that, and one is one of those people, and that's the bid I'm using. The other one's about another 200,000 more for a lesser quality treatment. And sewer equipment is just to do flow meters, rehab some of the pumps in our lift stations, and yeah, there's a hoist that we want to get for one of the trucks so we can actually pull the pumps easier. Right now it's hazardous. When I went and seen how they were pulling them, says, well, we can do it this way. I says, well, but it's not safe. So let's go for the hoist. And I mean, we're doing it safer. We actually have to create a hoist with a structure, and then we actually mount the hoist on it, but it takes 2 or 3 hours just to do the setup and then pull out and then figure out another way to get it into the back of the truck. So a hoist will benefit not only the sewer system, but we can also share it with other departments to change PRV valves, fire hydrants, a few other things. So it'll be good. On the stormwater, we have a grant from the state. We have 750,000. We're using some of that right now, but the funds that I had this year, I had to go and buy the pipe to pipe the main ditch. So we purchased the pipe just in the nick of time before a 20% increase because of the tariffs that are going on. So we got that ordered, but then we still have to fund the $750,000 that we're spending on west of Geneva Road along the Heritage Trail, and we will get reimbursed 80% of that money. But then the rest of the money, we need to have the money to pay for that, and then the rest of it will be to finish piping. We need gravel, topsoil, equipment rental. We're going to do it in-house, and that'll save us about $700,000 by doing it in-house. And I think we have a good plan to get going with that. And any questions about those projects?
Big fan of all of them.
It's a lot to judge.
All right, before he goes to sit down, any more questions for Juan?
Thanks, Juan.
Yep, great, thank you. Oh, what do you think? Can you go home?
Get for home.
Any other questions for Juan?
Is our overall sewer number going down at all? Of what the sewer number, the flow we send into Orem, how are we doing on that? I haven't seen that number in a while.
We are actually trending lower the past 3 months compared to the previous year, 3 months, and way down from the previous 3 months when we had that big wet spring. We do have that study going on with the infiltration. With
There was a survey, and the majority of citizens wanted it before, I remember the survey.
Yeah, I got comments there too.
Yeah. Start it over. So I need to end this one. Sorry. Let me